Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 267. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google Plus and the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. We have Ashok Pandey. Ashok is based in Germany. He's proud to call himself an SEO, and you can find Ashok at www.rankme.top. And joining us for the first time today, Rakibul, and let me see, it's Rakibul Hassan Rakib from Bangladesh. Rakibul, I must get a URL from you next week so that people can find you. Masataki Wasa is based in the UK. He's webmaster of wasaweb.net, and he lives in Wimbledon. He is also a Google top contributor on the AdSense community. Head of SEO for Zendesk.com in the United States, Micah Fisher-Kirshner is a regular on the public speaking circuit. You can find Micah at Zendesk.com. And Tim Capper is CEO of OnlineOwnership.com. He's based in the UK. His website is OnlineOwnership.com, and he is proud to call himself an SEO, and he's also a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. Right, I'm not sure how many questions we have tonight, but let's get started. The first one, let me see. First one from Chase Rayner, SEO. Chase has had a rush of blood to the head and wants to know if it's worth pushing everything to AMP. George G on our Facebook group said no.
It's going to depend on your market for the most part, but I think most people are kind of going to go with no. Okay, so here's the thing. You're essentially building a separate code base. This is probably the biggest issue around AMP, outside of the fears of Google owning everything in some fashion. You're essentially going and flipping back in time where you had to have a mobile site, a desktop site, and that's a lot more work than kind of what's been the preferred way today, which is a responsive web design. So unless you're more or less having to try to get into Google News, if you're able to make a really fast website, there's not technically a need for AMP itself. That's kind of the way to look at it. Yeah, so just kind of as something to note, that I would say no. It's not time, but if you're in the news industry, you probably should if you want to get there high up into the news thing, because the news carousel, because it's actually kind of mandated for that part. And after that, it's going to be based on your use case of, is it worthwhile versus getting the engineers to build something that's really fast in comparison. So.
Okay, thank you, Micah. Was there anybody else that wanted to add something there? There was one clash I heard.
Yeah, I think in the end it's about cost and benefit, isn't it? So if the implementation costs are low, if you can do it very quickly and painlessly, then it may be worth doing so. But as Micah said, it's probably best if you try to make your site faster for everyone and all visitors coming through different channels. That would be a higher priority than transitioning to AMP. So I don't think it's a top priority for most sites. As Mike said, new sites accepted, and it is, where do you place it in the hierarchy of things that you can do, and where you place it in terms of desirability. And I think for many people, if the implementation costs, that could be money, that could be resources, that could be all sorts of other things, if that doesn't allow it so easily, then it probably is not worth doing so.
Thank you, Mesa. Okay, all right. Let's call that an answer, and we'll move on to the next. This one from JL Faverio. It's titled, "Is it possible to give a title and description to image URLs?" A basic technical question.
Yeah, you can. Depends what you're using. But yeah, you can do. Your title, you know, if you actually use a descriptive, like a title within the file name of what the image is, that will take care of the title. So instead of, /123.jpg, you call it JL Faverio handsome face.jpg or PNG or whatever you want to save it in. Google will tend to understand, the file name and actually display it for that particular query anyway. But yeah, and then use an alt text over it if you only have the option of an alt text. But I would certainly, be a bit more descriptive in your file name itself in the very beginning, rather than 1234/27.42 JPEG.
Yeah, I mean, you can use title. The main part, though, is you're supposed to be using alt text rather than, say, title text. As Tim noted, you've got the URL to kind of describe it. It's one thing to be able to use it. It's another for actual SEO value. So as far as I'm aware, you can't really use description. There's no real actual meta description type thing. But don't quote me, because there's stuff that you could probably do on the XIF area, and I'm not sure in detail how much of that information Google is using. So in that part, it's usually beyond that, not so much.
Yeah, I sometimes use the long disk, for long description and pointing it to the puzzle, but I don't think that does much. I think it was mentioned in the group that you can use schema.org markup, and that's quite useful in terms of if you can put longitude and latitude and those kind of information, when it was taken, etc., etc. It's not it's not based on EXIF data, but actually you can use JSON LD as well to mark up the images, and that does seem to do a few things. Because I have been implementing schema for a while for images, and they do seem to do reasonably well. So I think it's relatively easy to use schema.org. So if you can have a template way to do it, then I definitely do it. I don't think it will harm. I don't think it will do any harm. It'd probably do some good. How much of a good it does, I'm not sure. But I think I think it does help if you can add all sorts of other information, like location, like date taken, date modified, and you can use description for that, as well as title and so forth for schema. So I think it does help. By how much I don't know, as I said, but I think if you can, I would use schema.org, as has been mentioned.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Taki. All right, let's go to the next. Jason Knott asked a question titled, "The quickest things to do to show up in search results." I don't feel qualified to answer this. I'll leave it to you guys.
Well, that's kind of like an open-ended question, really, Jason. And it also depends for what. So I'll talk local, and someone else can talk something else. So, right. Let's say it's a local business or a site with, that's got some kind of location attached to it. Firstly, you want your Google My Business page. You want your address in the footer. You want structured data markup for local business. You want the location within your title tag of the page itself, and preferably in your H1 or H2. So it would be orthodontic services in location on page. So what have I said? So address and footer, structured data markup, GMB page. So you can then go and develop some local business citations. Any niche ones in the area, let's say for any niche directories in the area that deal just with dentists, get yourself in there. Are there any trade organizations that deal with dentists? Get yourself listed. And yeah, that should, start working well for, your basic location searches for what your business is.
Thank you, Tim. Yep, I see Jason Duke said on our Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group, Jason said, hire an experienced SEO and give them free rein and budget. Like that's ever going to happen. Anyway, I've always thought that clients should send their checks and stay home. Let's move on to the next. Giannis Hajj said, if someone steals my content, will my rankings be affected? He went on to say, if I write a blog post on my blog and after a few days another blog steals it and posts it, will my rankings be affected? Will Google penalize my blog as having duplicate content?
Well, not really, because hopefully once you've published your article, you've used your social media to share your article out there to, people. Hopefully it's been cached and indexed before theirs. If it for some reason wasn't cached or indexed before theirs, and Google indexes theirs, thinking that they're the original, you can always then just DMCA the offending article, the offending site, which obviously it would basically you would have that removed out of search results anyway. So there's different ways, and and also just take out the penalized thing. There's no such thing as a penalty in terms of duplications. It's more of a filter. So you're not going to be penalized. It would be filtered if that was the case. If theirs was indexed prior to yours. But Google has a pretty good way, because even depending on your CMS, you've got to publish dates on there anyway. If you've shared it out there, Google normally can pretty much figure out, who's copied who.
Okay. Let's wrap up. We've got a few to get through, so let's charge on to the next. This one from Zawa Kamal, and he said it's titled "How to Get Categorized Search Result in Google," and he posted a set of site links. I think on the they can be seen on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. He said, how to achieve a site structure like this in Google? I just know it can be done via a sitemap submission. No, it can't. He said, I don't know how. Some people say use data highlighter. Well, I really don't know how to use that. Some people say Google does it by itself when the site gets trusted or old. I think that's accurate, but one of my friends did it on his domain in less than a week. Don't ask me to ask him, he won't tell. Can somebody guide me properly with reasons?
Yeah, it's the latter. It's Google chooses what it wants by itself. And it's not necessarily that it's trusted or old per se, but rather if it finds enough kind of like signals essentially that suggest that a lot of people are also going to those specific pages. Trust can help with that. Being old because it has a lot of data can help with that. But there is nothing that you can, nothing inside of like Search Console or anything that you can do to influence having them. You can influence like which ones not to have, but generally it's out of your control. Beyond like make your site, get a lot more people to come to it and be more interested, and then Google will start to kind of see what are the pages that most people are going to, and then potentially put it in there as those little site links. But again, nothing that you have control over.
Okay, thank you, Micah. Let's move on to the next. Oh, I've already done that. Okay. David Ogletree asked a question. I see. This wasn't. Well, actually, we could talk about it. I'd be interested to know what you guys think. He said this channel reinforces the reason I got out of SEO. Said there are so many people claiming to be SEOs that have no idea what they're doing. It just burns me up when I see these amateurs come in here talking about how they charge somebody for SEO services and don't know the first thing about it. Same thing in PPC. Every audit I have done is a horror story. Reading an article or taking a course does not give you the right to be charging money for your services. Every single person that throws up a web design company adds an SEO package as an upsell when they really have no idea what real SEO is. It's fighting word.
So I'm kind of interested because this is called Dumb SEO Questions, David. So people are entitled to ask their dumb questions, and other people, as in every peer-to-peer forum, provides what they feel is a correct answer. I don't.
Tim, quick thing, just because it came up in the comments. When he meant this channel, he meant in general SEO, not necessarily our group.
Oh no, he was referring to our group, but really? he did qualify by saying, "I'm sorry, I was not trying to say this group has no value. I think you are providing a necessary service."
My apologies.
Yeah. So Look, and I don't think anyone here actually, in fact, I think we moderated pretty well in the fact that nobody can actually go and say, try and tout for business. However, at the end of the day, in a free market, I could go to a bloke down the road to do my tires and he could completely fuck it up. It's called due diligence, and every person out there should perform their own due diligence whether it be changing your tires on your car, hiring a marketing company, or hiring a freaking accountant. Because we all know accountants walk away with freaking billions, and I know a few people that have literally been screwed over by their accountant and lost their business and house over time. So, and they are accredited, whereas unfortunately at the minute, there's no actual SEO accreditation, whereas these pricks went to university or whatever and were accredited and licensed by, the Financial Services Authority at the time. So, yeah, I think it's quite a general thing to say. I think you're going to get screwed whichever way you are and whatever thing you use. And I'm not just saying SEO, I'm saying from your mechanic to your accountant, to your dentist, and to your supermarket. It's called due diligence, it's called research. And I think wherever you are going to have these people. So if that's making you weep, David, mate, hide away from the world then.
Yeah, it's in any industry that doesn't have some kind of certification process. So going back to dentistry or surgery, areas of which there's a lot more trust involved because there's usually a long schooling, education, certification. These types of questions are going to come up. And the more that direct monetary feedback, that's something you can't see right away, the more these kinds of questions or types of people that will come in that don't will be much more sketchier than otherwise. This is not necessarily related to SEO. So that, as Tim said, is kind of the is the nature of when you've got kind of a free market that has a lot less regulation than, say, other industries, and that's going to open the base for a lot more people, both in a good and bad way, and more people that can actually learn and get better at it. But it does mean that before, if you're not doing that due diligence, you're more likely to be taken in by someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's the main. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to note that what Ashok said is kind of, the field's also pretty young too. So as to kind of Ashok's point on that, how many people have been aware of or familiar with kind of SEO as a whole? So the younger industry, the much more free market kind of style is in place. Those things in new industries are often much more wild early on. What you can do, what you can get away with, is much, much broader than a lot more established industries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sorry, Massa, you carry on, mate.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I totally get where David's coming from on the flip side of that. Because we kind of inwardly groan here many times, depending on what's been going on. When someone comes on asking about PBNs or links or this or that, where they've read, you can quite clearly see in the way they've, phrased their question or whatever, where that they've read some pretty poor piece of information somewhere. And it's reinforced by equally bad freaking publications out there. So Yeah, I mean, I can clearly see where you're coming from. And hopefully this group here is to kind of, you know, our thing is to try and help people and dispel some of the myths out there. But yeah, mate, due diligence. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and people have to start somewhere. It's a trade perhaps that is easier to pick up than, say, dentistry or medicine. Sure. And as Ashok pointed out, it's a nascent young industry and a rapidly changing one. You know, things that you might have done perhaps a few years ago would not be something that you do now. And that's, you know, this makes it more difficult for the industry itself to judge what's happening, and that makes it even more difficult for the customers, the clients, to decide, you know, what's the right approach, who are the right people to do this job. And I think that's the difficulty and frustration that David's having, is that, you know, sort of old things that have been debunked are still being resurrected every so often, and in a way that is going to do harm to their clients. And I think that's the big issue that many people have, that if you're a client, if you're a potential client, then you really don't know how to do the due diligence. They try to do, okay, so what I as a client should do in order to establish that this person knows his or her stuff. And I think that's a difficult bit, and bad actors will come up with all sorts of jargons, or they'll try to entice people with something easy to understand. You know, I'm going to create so many links. That's sort of easy to understand for clients, thinking, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. So I think that's, in a sense, there's a disconnect between how the industry is developing and expectations and what would be the right word? The understanding, knowledge on the part of the potential clients. And that's always a bit difficult. And if you go to dentist, you want your rotten teeth fixed. If you want to go to an SEO, perhaps you want to have your rotten site fixed. But who do you turn to? Dentistry is slightly easier because then they're regulated, they're qualified, they have a dental practice somewhere. Whereas with SEO, you don't know where they are, who they are, what they do, what they've done. And that's very tricky. If I were a potential client, then it's difficult to decide, how do you do that due diligence?
Yeah. But you also never know when your dentist is going to go out and shoot a fucking lion. True? It's fucking true, isn't it? You never know when your president's going to get a blowjob in the fucking, in his office. I'm just saying.
Or you never know when suddenly you're going to get an American as your new queen.
That's so low down. Yeah, whatever, mate. Whatever. She ain't ever coming in.
So let's say you have a rotten site, and you want to have that fixed, and you're trying to find an SEO to do it for you. What would be on your checklist? How would you approach someone? What would be on your checklist? You might want to have a portfolio, perhaps, the previous work, reviews, testimonials. If I say I have a site that's not in a good shape, how would I go about finding the right person for the job? What would you look for?
I wouldn't look for Tim Capper anyway.
Mate, just because you've got a new freaking hairstyle for Christmas.
No. The lady that normally calls by to cut my hair has gone on a cruise. So
mate.
I had to have a slot, just before the hangout, and just kept everything wet.
Looks
And
slightly Trump-esque.
yeah. All right. Now listen, this F word, Tim, we want to try and keep our general exhibition rating if we can. All right, let's tweet that one. David, look, I know you meant well, and you continue to mean well, and we thank you for your participation on the Dumb SEO Questions group. I hope that some of the answers you heard here tonight will satisfy you. All right, let's go to the next. This one from Matt Swanson. He said, I can't find my site on Google in a mid-sized market, or at least that's the title for the question. Matt said, I have had my website published for 90 days and can't even find it on Google in a mid-sized market. I have local citations and some backlinking currently. Any suggestions? And he gives a URL, which is www.asapplumbing.omaha.com. See, Alan Blue Eyes, as always, very energetic in our community on Facebook. He gave a good answer, as always.
Matt, there's a very quick, I haven't seen what Alan said. Very quick one, mate. I've obviously just searched for plumbing ASAP Omaha, which I'm obviously going to refine now. But your AdWords, I would just look at your AdWords. I mean, your actual title is all asapplumbingomaha.com, and then it, obviously AdWords pulls in www. You need to revisit that. It's no one's going to be clicking on that. Your AdWords, you're wasting money there, man. You know, call yourself emergency plumber 24/7 in Omaha, and then or something. You know, anything. Then what you've got listed there, it's horrendous. You're wasting money on that, man. So let's have a look. I know you say it's a mid-sized market, but you know, Yelp, you've got Yelp there, you've got Home Advisor, you've got a couple of big ones, you've got Trustman, you've got a couple of large entities that are obviously working within that sector. So it's not, you know, although you feel it's a mid-sized, you've got some fairly big. Oh, hang on, I've just seen another one of your AdWords, which is $79.99 for drain cleaning. Yeah, that's perfect, but revisit the other one because the other one is terrible. I'm trying to find your bloody site now. I'm going to have to go back to ASAP to find you again. Okay, so I'm just going to have a little run through the site and just shoot things back at you. Okay, so you know, these aren't exactly in order. So your title, I would sort that out. You're trying to brand yourself as ASAP Plumbing, so your title should be ASAP Plumbing in the front, and then it should be I'm just looking for, your logo says appliance and plumbing services. But I would say, you know, I would just say plumbing, plumbing and emergency plumbing services in Omaha as your title, okay? And then obviously a description. Let's have a quick look here. Yeah, so eventually I get to, after your images, I eventually get down to your, what in theory should be an H1, which you've got as an H2, which is Omaha, Nebraska plumber. I would, you know, I don't think anyone's going to ever search Omaha, Nebraska plumber. We're already in Omaha. People within Nebraska or Omaha that are searching for a plumber don't need to actually type in that, because the IP and geolocation, it will just show it to them anywhere. So I would, you know, jazz it up a little bit, you know, plumbing and emergency plumbing services in Omaha, or welcome to ASAP plumbing services in Omaha, right? So we've then got our bit of content. Okay, I'm assuming that you are listed as a serviced area business within your Google business page. That's cool. Have we got structured data markup on this? Hey, why is there a 7-day furniture and mattress store at your address, mate?
So using serviced offices, Kim.
Okay, so anyway, I'm just quickly checking structured data markup. Another thing I just came on, mate, which I'm certainly sure this is yours, but you're also running another site, asap4service.com. I'm not even going to bother looking whether your content is the same across all sites. I don't know. I'm not going to be looking, but you're running 2 sites. I don't, you know, I'm not going to look whether they are competing against one another. Structured data markup, you don't have any structured data markup for a local business or for a plumber. You can also, you know, you can actually set yourself as a serviced area business within, you know, as a plumber. You can set your actual geo target being the center of Omaha, and you can actually set, let's say, a 50-mile radius around it within your structured data markup. Unfortunately, you're using Wix. I don't know whether you can, but I'm sure you can just do an HTML static block in Wix and add it in, something like that. Now let's actually pick a service page, plumbing. Oh. And you've gone down the road of creating service area pages, which are literally pretty much all the same. Google's just going to think, yeah, whatever. Yeah. So there's a couple of little top tips there. On your service pages, so I'm looking at toilets now, which isn't actually within your in a hierarchy. You know, it's not within your plumbing service hierarchy, but forget that for the minute. You know, you've just got it listed as toilet repair. I would, you know, your actual title should read toilet repair and installations in Omaha, you know, on page. It would be better. You've even got that as your title tag, so why not have that on your actual page itself? You can actually, I would also do a little link to your, underneath, you know, on your footer, actually link into your GMB page itself. What is coming in Omaha?
Sorry to interrupt you there, Tim, and I'll leave you to continue, but Ashok is leaving us now. He has to get to work. What time is it in Germany, Ashok? 4 p.m. Okay. All right, mate. We'll see you next week. I shouldn't have started talking. We had viewers watching us, and they just dropped off. Come back, Tim. We'll start again.
Yeah, no, hang on one sec. I'm just going to get the URL of this. I just want to check the citations that you speak of. Hang on a second. Whoa, I've just, what? Hang on. I'll go back to plumbing quickly because I'm thinking, what? Okay, no, sorry, ignore me. I just thought that we had some weird domain redirect issues there, but no, that's cool. I just want to check your citations that you speak of. So yeah, and you already got that other. There's also that other site, and I'm not going to look at what you've got on it, whether you've duplicated things. Okay, so I've just done a quick query on your name. Wait. Oh, that's fun. I've just done a query. So all in, ASAP Plumbing Omaha, which is what you're calling yourself. Then and then your address. Removing the site itself, ASAP Plumbers. And for some reason, your actual ASAP Plumbing Omaha, your knowledge panel doesn't pop up, but your ASE Appliance Repair, ASAP Appliance Repair pops up. So you're literally confusing. What is this? Have you also attempted to create different things? I'm seeing some weird sites coming up when I'm using your name and your address under example13.com for showers and example13.com for flooded basements, which is part of the ASAP appliance thing. So you need to check some of these things out. And literally, if I use your name, ASAP Plumbing Omaha, which I'm assuming is the name you've used, because that's what's on your site, I can't find any citations for you. Literally nothing. Let me just call it ASAP Plumbing, remove the Omaha. So some of your citations are actually, you are calling your citations ASAP Appliance and Plumbing Services. So you're trying to group in your other thingy Oh no, that is for your ASAP4services.com. I'm assuming, yeah, you're using the same address. Yes, mate, Google's just getting completely confused with who you are, what you are. Completely confused. Because these other ones are called ASAP Appliance and Plumbing Services. It's on the same address, except it's a different domain.
Not to forget example13.com.
Yeah, example13.com. I just want to see. Okay, so your other citations, I think, let me check this one. I think you're using ASAP Plumbing Incorporated. Let me just quickly check. So that's the address. Where's website? Oh, hang on. Where's the freaking site? Get a quote book. No. Where's a website? Oh, there we go. Oh, no. So even your citations that you've built for the other one are called ASAP Plumbing, and you've built them under ASAP Plumbing Incorporate. So they are also completely different from ASAP Appliance and Plumbing Services. Yeah, look, essentially, Google's completely confused. That's it, simple as. Completely confused as to who you are, what you're doing. Whether you're appliances, whether you're not, whether, you know, what name you're under, what, you know, telephone number, because you've listed 2 different telephone numbers. Your names are pretty much crossing over. Yeah, but you're at the same address. So, yeah, you need to properly segment these things out properly. You're confusing Google. And that's about it.
All right, let's deem that an answer, a very good one at that. Thank you, Tim. And let's move on to the next. This one from Sandersile Mabatha. Does Google penalize you for having site lockers? I had to look this up. A site locker is like a pop-up that locks you in and forces you to join something or pass over your email address or something like that. I hope I'm describing it correctly.
It does what? So it's a pop-up that you can't get out of until you've added in some info.
Yeah. Something like that.
Oh, yeah. Look, if Google's not penalizing you, I would certainly penalize you for that. Yeah, totally, mate. No, in fact, if I had my way, I'd shut the freaking site down. DMCA the bastard, get rid of it. No, it doesn't.
Chrome is potentially going to be ramping up on stuff that side too.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, think about it this way. I go into a normal shop. I go to a normal little coffee shop or a dentist or to buy a pair of shoes, and I walk in and then they lock me in until I've bought something or done something for them. Yeah, right. If you're running something that is legitimate, a business, you know, a site, an e-commerce store that you actually care about, that you want to build a brand for, don't kidnap your customers.
Kind of one of the things that goes without saying. You kind of feel that would need to be stated.
Yeah, I just like to make a comment in case anybody by some accident happens to listen to this recording at some later time. A lot of black hats are dropping into our community, particularly after we had that lovely mention from Ahrefs the other day. On this community, we aim to give answers that will stand the test of time. If they may not be as flashy as the black hat world may not have all the bells and whistles, and what we do sometimes is a bit boring, but we do aim to give answers that stand the test of time. And if you want to talk about black hat, there's plenty of other places for you to go. You know, you just won't get the answers that you're looking for here. We don't offer that sort of advice. All right, let's tweet that and we'll bolt on to the next one. Priya Gupta asks, I don't want to lose any of my traffic after changing brand name. Priya said, hello community, kindly share your valuable suggestions on my question below. I'm going to rebrand one of my products. My product is ABC, but some of the reasons I'm going to rename my brand as XYZ. Right now I'm getting good traffic and also I have good branding for the existing name ABC. So why change? I don't want to lose any of my traffic after changing the brand name to XYZ. So how can I maintain my traffic on my new brand name? What are the points I need to consider while changing the brand name in terms of technology, marketing, and SEO? Awaiting your suggestions. Thanks in advance.
Okay, so I'm a bit confused. It's an actual product that he sells?
It seemed to me that Priya is a she, I think. Asked questions of us before, if it's the same Priya.
So
I
let's
think
assume
it's the website brand.
Oh, so what? This is just a site change?
Yes, I think so.
Hmm.
Oh no, sorry, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. It's there in the question. She said, "I'm going to rebrand one of my products. My product is ABC. Change to XYZ."
So you can do this in two different ways, sir. And now, I think it all depends on your customers, really. I think you're going to have to do. So, if I search for
pink fluffy elephants.
Pink fluffy elephants, right? And I was the market leader in pink fluffy elephants. Okay.
No, Mike has got one. Look.
So I search for pink fluffy elephants. I click on the search result, and all of a sudden I turn up on a purple fluffy elephant page. And I'm like, no, actually, I wanted pink fluffy elephants. So here's the thing. If you just 301 redirect, where they thought they were searching for something else, they land on something else, although it's the same kind of product, the brand is different, and they actually wanted to buy from that particular brand. They may instinctively just leave the page. They may. I'm not saying they will. They may. So this is something you need to figure out, and it's also how you understand your customers or your users. What could be quite good is, for example, to remove that product off that page and just put a custom page in there about your pink fluffy elephant. If there was a particular reason you rebranded, and I'm assuming there's got to be a very good reason why, and that you can legally talk about, then at least give them some information. And then say, here is the exact same product, but under a different branding that we've had to now use. And then they can click through to that. That could be another option. But I think at the end of the day, it all depends on your user, what the product is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's just a surprise, but if you think about it in terms of what larger, or just general company rebrands, some of them take time. Rather than doing it all at once and doing a complete flip from brand A to now brand X, they do kind of a small little thing of like, brand A, now by brand X. Brand X, formerly brand A. Brand X. While it's just a product, it's something to consider of kind of a jump to, this is my product ABC, now it's called XY. You hit the page, it's called XYZ, previously known as ABC. You kind of help to ease people in so that they're at least somewhat aware of that type of change. So that those are, you're getting good traffic for people who are searching for that brand of the existing name. They eventually will switch over to the new rebranded name of your product. So that's something to consider, is a kind of step-by-step way to push that along. And then eventually you're going to need to change URLs, content that are looking to all through that, and just be aware that it does take time. Depending on your market, it may be pretty quick. Others, you may have to leave it there for a number of months, along the lines of just waiting until people really start to kind of pick up and switch over. But yeah, I mean, look, sometimes just a lot of people don't like change, so you have to really ease them in. And that's one of the ways you can try to do that without, a large loss of traffic right away.
Thank you, Micah. And Tim? Thank you, Tim. Okay, let's move on to the next. No, damn it, I lost my mouse. Okay, this one from Zawa Kamal. It's titled, "What kind of domain name shall I choose?" Zawar said, "Hi there, I want to start a new Amazon affiliate website." There's a novel idea. I need some suggestions from experts. What kind of domain name shall I go for, and why? And how does it matter in terms of SEO? Niche-based brand name e-commerce reviews. I'm just curious about a few things, so I wanted to clear my mind. As I've selected 3 to 4 micro niches which I want to target, and everyone knows that reviews are the best thing to intercept a user to buy directly from Amazon, I haven't given any thoughts about brand name or e-commerce. I see we had a response from Richard Hearn today. Where is it? I can't see it. No, I can't see it. You go ahead.
Brand names are difficult. I mean, it depends on what your product is and what you're selling. And obviously, since you're looking to be an affiliate website, you got to have some type of kind of area around that as well. That type of naming convention will dramatically vary in terms of what kind of recommendations based on what your niche is. We can we go back to the old pink fluffy elephant, and what is it going to be when it comes to, if you're an affiliate for selling these, you're going to have something that's somewhat related, whether it's along the pink line or the elephant line. You generally don't want to be a pure exact match because you can't build any branding off of that. And in the long run, that's not going to help you have a sustainable business model. You want to have something that's going to be catchy, memorable, and generally short. But that takes some amount of time and effort. It is one of the things you definitely want to try to get right early on. But yeah, like without knowing what the niche is, it's hard to give some quick examples of what that might be for you.
Yeah. All right, let's move. Zawa, I hope, by the way, thank you, Zawa, for taking down that poll at my request. And I did it for you, Micah. And then straight after that, we get another poll. This one I left up because it was regarding my hobby horse negative SEO. So I thought I'd leave that there. But anyway, thank you, Zawa. I hope the answer we've given is useful to you. All right, this one from Tonmoy Paths, titled "Sites with Very Few Pages Are Ranking for Some Good Keywords." Tonmoy said that, well, it's a dumb question to all of you. People are saying, don't target this keyword, don't target that keyword, but I saw some sites with very few pages are ranking for some good money keywords. So how did they do that? P.S. Don't say they are giants. They are the SEO leader or they have good luck. Please answer from an SEO point of view. You might already know about 10 beasts. So how did they do that? Few answers from our community on Facebook, Dumb SEO Questions on Facebook. Steve Garenza said research scholarship links.
Yeah, so on the whole, without doing any kind of audit of the site, you know, it's going to be difficult to say for sure. If, you know, when it comes down to it, you're going to be looking in specific areas of what might be doing it. The content might be phenomenal. They might have a lot of backlinks, and they might have just established a long history that people expect and are used to said site coming out for site queries, and is a continual value add in the mind of both users and Google. So that's without kind of, you know, having what those sites are. You know, it's tough to say, but just by having a few pages doesn't mean that they can't rank for specific terms. You know, each of the contexts and what the landscape looks like will potentially vary for reasons for why certain sites show up, and it's honestly kind of Alan's point about getting somebody to do an audit for you in that way, provide some is going to give you probably the biggest bang for understanding what's going on and for why they're ranking, especially if you're looking to possibly emulate something. And that's assuming on the phone, but that emulation is something you can still do today. It is possible that stuff done in the past has helped, and some stuff is overlooked because it was done a long time ago, and it's stuff that you can do today. But that's good to know. But yeah, you're really going to need more, either A, provide more information, and really B, get somebody to help provide a more detailed audit so they can give you kind of that insight to really just give you an understanding of what's going on.
Thank you, Micah. And on the west coast of the USA, it's time to go to work. So we're losing you now. I'll see you through the week, mate. Oh, have a happy Hanukkah, is it? Hanukkah? Is that the right pronunciation?
Yeah, it's close enough.
Yeah, have a good one, mate.
Enjoy your holidays. Have a Merry Christmas for the rest of you. The rest of you all celebrate it. So take care.
Okay.
Ciao.
Bye. All right.
Okay.
Tweet this.
So,
oh, sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
So right to essentially here, you say, oh yeah, don't say that they're like the giants. Well, I'm not saying they're the giants, but you also got to look at, SEO is also about marketing. Nike, for example, they don't do any, sort of outreach. They don't do a lot of content, but they spend, I don't know, 100 million a year on advertising, so people know them. In terms of 10 Beasts, they had, and they still have, a very, 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 very large and very popular blog called Find10Beast.com, which, of course, on their blog, they're interlinking through to their, to 10beasts.com, to the relevant particular pages within that. So, before you think of that, they already had built up quite a very good blog and presence on their find10best.com. So that's the first thing there. The second one is, hang on just one sec, I just lost that. And the next one is, although their main site has got a relatively few number of pages, their content, part of it, or their blog, which has been running for years, is actually the main backbone of what you see the site as, which is carrying it. And they've also done a few other little things. Just looking at some of the links, they've got a fairly good, they've done some scholarship things, which, people are kind of cool on these, people kind of like these scholarship things, if you're in the US and you can afford to do it. Yeah, they're okay. They have got a few dodgy ones, but they have got some very, very good other tech sites that are linking to them, tech blogs. So although 10 Beasts has roughly got about 31 odd pages there, give or take, they were actually on a very popular blog and still use it all the time. So what you perceive to be no content is actually quite a lot of content. So yeah, there is always kind of things, and I'm not saying that's the answer itself, but without doing a substantive look around. They also had another blog at one point, which they've taken down. I'm assuming because they're actually redirected that whole blog. So, there could be a number of reasons. But yeah, it's not always as simple as that. And how do you know that 10 Beasts hasn't done, or I suppose you would if you're in the same country, but they may have taken out a lot of normal, regular marketing in some other kind of, tech magazine. Their traffic's not substantive, so it's not as if they're like the market leader there. But yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Let's call that an answer for Tonboy. Toka Janelides asks, how much time will it take to recover my traffic? He said, from November the 28th, my search traffic decreased a lot. I discovered in Google Search Console that from that time, I received 40 low-quality spammy backlinks from 10 domains. I disavowed these 10 domains. How much time will it take to recover my traffic?
Okay, so I'm very, very skeptical that 40 low-quality links is going to tank your site. If it was 40 low-quality links every month for 6 months, then I would say, okay, there's probably, Google wasn't able to catch these things. But I'm pretty skeptical of those. You disavowed the domains. I think it's something else. I really don't think it was those. I think it was something else. How long was the site running for? Were you just in a honeymoon period?
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Toka, I wish you luck with that one. Let me just tweet that. All right, this one from Job and John. Is it okay for one domain to have multiple listings in multiple cities? This would be an answer for a local search consultant. I wonder if we know any.
Well, if you're saying GMB related, if you have an actual location in that city, yes, you can have a GMB page. If you're talking about on your site, saying I've got I don't know, plumbing services in New York, plumbing services in Boston, plumbing services in Washington. Well, if you can't service them, firstly, it's a bit of a waste of time. If you have got local agents, for example, in a specific area that you can service, then yes, it's fine. It all depends on how unique you can make that location service, location page. If they're, and yes, a lot of companies do it. Massive companies. I don't know what comes to mind. Roto-Rooter. They've got literally all their franchisees listed within there under the company name in towns and cities across the entire country. Yes, you can have it. It depends on your structure, whether you can service the customer, how unique is the actual individual person that's servicing it, because of course you're going to need to provide a local, either a national or local number. You're going to need to provide information on, can they actually service it? There's no point having it in the city if you can't service it. People also want to know who's going to be servicing it. Just remember, customers aren't stupid these days. If they pick up the phone, for example, if I assume something to be a local company and then I pick up the phone and then they tell me, oh no, it's going to be at least 50 minutes before we can get to you because they're traveling from London, I'm like, piss off. And then I go and find a local one. So, you know, at the end of the day, you can do it. Hundreds and hundreds of large national brands do it, and you can do it. It all depends on whether you can service it. It depends on you know, how you structure those pages properly.
Excellent, Tim. Thank you. Let's tweet that and we'll move on to the next. This one from Gemma Fong on developing a landing page on each to direct traffic. Gemma said, just checking for input. If I have site 1 with good brackets good SEO and site 2 brackets good SEO, and want to develop a landing page on each to direct traffic to site 3 brackets a new product site related to the topics of sites 1 and 2. Does anyone see a complication here? She also wants to use the same video on all 3 sites as part of page content. I see Stuart McKenzie on our dumb SEO Questions Facebook group said none sounds good, and that's what I'd think too.
So, and a product site relating to topics of site 1 and 2. You know, for me always, and it depends what these are, but for me, it's always easier to maintain one great site. However, I'm assuming, let's say I'm just going to say site 1, you're a garden center. Site 2 is the landscaper. You know, so you offer a landscaping service, and that site is dedicated to landscaping. But now you've created a builder's merchant as part of the business within the kind of thing. And what you're saying is, can I have a page on site 1 or in site 2 saying builder's merchant, and then saying, you know, as part of our group where we've got a builder's merchant, and please visit the dedicated site for this. Yeah, that's cool. For me, ultimately, always at the end of the day, if they're in the same genre, as in, you know, garden center and building merchant and landscaping design, it's all within the same. Ultimately, I would always advise to have it in one, properly segmented, because then you're only maintaining one and you're building content around those things on one side, one to maintain. You know, yes, you may market them slightly differently, but of course, some people want to build a different brand, and that you may be marketing it completely on a different brand and logo. So yeah, it makes sense, but that would be cool. And then about the video, yeah, hey, Google can't read a video. So he doesn't know whether.
Can't read a video. Sorry, I can't play
Bitch,
videos.
hey, stop. Hey, Google, stop. I went, okay, Google. I went, hey, Google can't. Hey, my thing's kicking off here. She's shouting at me. Hey, Google, stop. Sorry, chaps. She started kicking off, telling me she couldn't understand me. Cheeky bitch. So yeah, in terms of video on each thing, yeah, not a problem. Google can't read it, can't figure it out. But here's a little top tip. Videos are very easy to just rename. So why not just create three, use a slightly different length, you know, add a different introduction on each, slightly different length. Then you've got 3 videos, each one for each different brand using the same video. That's 3 extra spots in YouTube with 3 different titles and 3 different potentials for appearing elsewhere. But no, in terms of using the same video, if you wanted to, Google can't read it. He doesn't know what it is. Job done.
Excellent, Tim. Thank you. And Gemma, I hope you find that is useful. And the next question we have is from Chase Rayner SEO. I really want some of whatever Chase is smoking. But anyway, Chase has a question titled, which of Google's algorithms measure user metrics? He said, does anyone have any idea of which of Google's algorithms measure user metrics and what user metrics Google actually looks at? Besides, then he goes on to say, besides Hummingbird or RankBrain user intent metrics, which I'm assuming correlate with click-through rates. God help me, Chase. Life is hard enough without adding complexity to it.
So firstly, if you were even at Google and you were allowed in and you said to them which part of the algorithm, they would say, I don't know. And that is a simple. If you go back to Google and there was that famous question, I think Matt Cutts did it, and someone asked them about something, looking at this site and why it ranks, and Matt said it would literally take us upwards of 6 months to reverse engineer the results to figure out why that site is appearing where it is. Should give you an idea on the complexities of these. You know, people do a line here, a line of code there, a line a bit there, a line a bit there. People have left. I mean, I've got things where I've got an issue now. It's literally taken 4 months because the bloke that wrote the code to get it fixed pissed off like 6 years ago, and they still can't locate it or know how to fix this issue in local search results. I'm not going to go into what the issue is, but these are the things. So if you said which of Google's algorithms, I mean, even if you asked Google themselves, they'd be like, what are you talking about, mate?
Yep. Well, that's okay, and that coupled with the good answers you'll find on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group, I think that covers it. Okay, we'll tweet that, and we will move on to the next. Toker, he said, to follow up on that other question he had, he said, I found a bunch of websites created specially to lower website ranking with their spammy links. Is there a way to take them down or report them?
Yeah, you can. Google has a specific reporting page. Just Google search report spam. And I'm sure it'll appear there. Yeah, you can literally submit the site to Google to check out. So, end of.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that link is still active though, Tim.
I'm sure it is. Report.
Yeah, I just did report spam to Google, and it's still got a
report spam paid links for malware. There you go. Yeah, it's there. Just chuck them all in, mate.
Yeah. I think they've converted it. Let me see. Oh no, they still accept reports on websites selling links. Anyway, all right. Let's move on. Okay, Jarkin Mathis, my structured data graph is going down day by day. Jarkin said, in Search Console, my structured data graph is going down day by day. Approximately 15,000 items dropped. In the structured data testing tool, I have no errors. In the Google Search Console, there are no warning messages. So where am I going wrong? Can anyone help me, please? See, Alan Blue Ice on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group gave a good answer. He said, before anyone can even begin to attempt to help you, there are questions that need to be answered. And even when they're answered, we may not be able to help you because Google is continually making changes to their algorithms, and nobody outside of Google's own internal search quality and spam teams would know what they have done that might have been a cause, apropos of what Tim just said. How confident are you that the number of structured data items reported in Google Search Console before the drop is accurate to the actual number of structured data items on the site? How long had the structured data items count stayed fairly consistent before the drop began? Is there anything you can think of that might have changed on the site, either in regard to content links or on a technical level, or perhaps on the service shortly before the drop or since?
And also, they've started reporting those slightly different, whereas initially, now they're actually splitting them up. So, for example, on a page, let's say you had organization which was site-wide, then on your page you've got a product, and let's say you may have just a built-in website structured data being displayed. Well, they've split those out now, so it could just be a result of the new change in the way they've split them out to make it easier to see the different ones on what different pages. So now you can click on organization and see which pages it's displaying on. Then you can click on product, and you can then see which product pages are being displayed. And then, for example, you can click on like a website, or, you know, depending, or like, let's say you've got, I don't know, images or whatever, and you can click on those ones and it'll show you which one's being displayed. So the first thing is just to, you know, is it as a result of the segmentation that they've done? Is that the result, and is that why you're seeing the graph dip down because of the change made there? Or, you know, pick one where you know you've got one running site-wide, let's say organization, click on that one and then see what pages are showing. And as you know, Juliana said, it may just be the indexation on pages. So you may have only half the pages actually, you know, although it's running site-wide and they're all there, it may not just be reporting based upon the pages that they've got in there. And there's a limit anyway on the amount of things displayed, isn't there? In Search Console, what's the limit? At least I thought there was a limit. So I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, but it could be because of that.
Thank you, Tim. All right, let's tweet that. We'll go to the next. Nicholas Bodell asked a question titled "The Good and Bad Sides of Slideshows." He said, I'm thinking of adding slideshows to my general website. In terms of SEO, what are the good and what are the bad sides to slideshows?
What, you're creating a slideshow on site? I don't think there's a good or bad. I think it's what your customers find or your users find best to navigate through. Or if it's just one of those random frickin' slideshows at the top of the page, no, I flippin' absolutely hate them. In fact, it's called, God, there's a specific name in marketing for it, something blindness. What's it? Sorry, I forget the actual name of it. It's called something called blindness, where literally people, because you are trying to read something, let's say, so your top half of your page is freaking slideshowing all over the place, and they're trying to read your first introductory paragraph, or let's say your slideshow's in the middle of the page, wherever, and the user is trying to read something. They literally, enable them to read it, they literally actually blank it completely out. So I would say, so they literally blank it out anyway. So depending on where it is, depending on your user, it's not going to be bad for your site. But ultimately, just remember that they may not even be using it or visualizing it, because depending on what the site is, if they're actually trying to read something, they are going to blank it out completely out of their mind. The brain switches that part off, so they're not seeing these sliding images, and so they can concentrate on reading the actual text. So it's entirely up to you. Do your research. SEO wise, not a problem, but to actually the customer, wow, they may not even be viewing it. And if they're not viewing it, you might as well look for something that is where you can actually put whatever you're trying to say on page, in a static image, or on, actually in content itself, to explain what you're trying to say or do. And if that name comes to me, I'll put it in. But it's a specific marketing thing. It's been researched. People literally blank it out.
Okay, let's move on to the next. Oh, I've already done that. Kim Krausberg, who is the lady who runs Creator Site Forums, asked a question titled "More Links Than Text." Kim said, is there a danger in having a page that has more links than text? For example, a page that has 329 internal links and 37 outbound links, all follow links, outnumbering the text.
If that is completely site-wide, then you're. If it is just a particular page, it's a resource page for some whatever reason. I don't know, some people like to have these things where they just say, our partners, or our recommended suppliers, or whatever. And it's literally, a ton of links going out, not an issue. But if it's site-wide, because this is coming through from your structure, or your nav, or your footer links, or wherever, then you have a problem.
Yep. And Ammon Johns on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group agrees with you wholeheartedly, Tim. In fact, he said almost the same. All right, let's move to the next. And this one from Emi Ahmad. Should I just buy links? He said, she said, is it better to build links manually? It is so difficult, and when I reach out to other related to business websites, no response. Should I just buy links? If so, which is the best or easiest website to deal with?
Okay, so look, if you're providing a valuable resource to people on your site, they may not link to it now, but as you build up your authority, etc., and you publish an article, which is a really great article, it helps people discover whatever the case may be. You may even throw a video into it. Ultimately, people, I'm not saying they will link to it all the time, but ultimately you'll start building up your authority. If you're just reaching out to people to say, hey, look, I've done this and please include it into me, literally, I just ignore all those. I ignore that crap, because if I find something that's relevant, I will then include it into my page. Just people that reach out to me piss me straight off. If you're going to buy links, not that I would recommend it. But if you were going to buy links or buy some marketing or whatever, you need to do your due diligence. I'm not going to say to go and, to go to what site or whatever site. There's hundreds of different kind of marketing businesses out there, advertorials, all sorts of different types of. But if you were going to buy something, you need to do your due diligence and understand what you're buying and what the risks are. Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Tim. Yeah. And yeah. Okay. No, I won't add to that. I can't. All right. Let me tweet that, which I think I've done already. Yes, I have. This one from Suresh Kumar. An interview for SEO manager position. I haven't seen this one. I'll read it out. Hello. I hope everyone is doing well. We are, aren't we, Tim? A few days back, I attended an interview for SEO manager position. They asked me a question which confused me. They gave me a website and asked me to do keyword research and take out strong competitors. I did what they asked. I gave them the list of keywords and competitors. After that, they asked me to prove the keywords which I listed were right for their website. That is what confused me. I used tools to check the organic traffic and the potential keywords. I listed based on the terms they use on their website, but they said it's all wrong and wanted me to prove right. I apologise if this is off topic, but I need your help. Help me with an answer. Thanks and cheers.
Hang on, let me get that right. They gave you the keywords, and now they're saying to prove them right, or you yourself right. Yeah, that's a bit weird. I mean, so one quick way I suppose you could go is, because you also need to look at semantic things, not just specific. I suppose one quick way, and when you say prove it, they are probably going to look at something like Google. So a way that you could show them it would be AdWords, where you do the search for new keywords or whatever, you chuck in the website, pick what kind of category it is. I think you also do country, and then boom, give the suggestions. And 9 times out of 10, it'll probably pick those same ones up. At least then you can pull off that report, or even just screenshot it so they can see it's actually coming from Google itself. And that will probably calm them down a bit in that sense. And then obviously you can use, SEMrush to get the actual.
Yep. Uh-oh. It looks like we're frozen. Oh dear. Masataki, I think we just lost Tim. I think we were frozen.
Well, he did say he needed to go in a bit a while back.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Okay. Well, look, let's. I'll stumble through the rest. Matthew LaRock asks a question. Hi, I have a question about keywords in domain names. I had previously understood that having a keyword in a domain name could help, but I didn't know about putting not owned brand names was also a correct way to do it. I would need a general answer to a specific case. In Mexico, there is a website working very well for any query about DHL, and this domain name is Paqueteria DHL, paqueteriadhl.mx. Now, the same guys of paqueteriadhl.com have released paqueteriaredpack.com.mx, and they're also ranking great for anything about Redpack. This is obviously a great technique to have content rank high in Google, in Mexico at least. So is this an SEO bug, or is it correct to use not owned brand names in our domain names to rank higher? There are still many domains to buy like this. Thanks. Well, look, keywords in domain names used to be very strong, but these days not so much. I see, Masataki, you were involved in a conversation with Rob. Maybe you would like to comment on this one?
Yeah. Well, I just followed up on Rob Mars's point in that you don't need to have the brand name in your domain to rank for search terms. Not necessarily. You can talk about the service on your page, then that will get picked up. But I hadn't actually seen the website in question that was mentioned, and having had a sort of look, and I don't read Spanish, it looks like an MFA site. It's an information site that has a lot of ads at the top of the page. So, I'm not so sure how Matthew wants to compete in that area, because I thought, okay, this would be about how to ship things, which service provider to use on that information site, or you are actually doing those kinds of services. And in either case, I don't think this is a good website to compare your site with. So what I would think is that concentrate on your own website. What is your website trying to do? Is it trying to provide information? Is it about different prices for different size packages? Those kind of things? Are you saying a particular provider is better than others, or are you actually a service provider, so you ship on behalf of other people? So depending on that, it'd be different. But in either case, I would really concentrate on your own site and on your own services, and forget about this particular other site, which to me looks like an MFA site, and it's not something that you want to compare your site with. And as for the domain name, use one that you can use one that is sustainable, because if you use third-party trademarks, you're always in danger of losing that domain. And whatever you've done, whatever you built up, all the reputation, all the authority might go puff in the air. So think in terms of what your business is, what is the most sustainable way of using that, of growing your business. And I wouldn't worry too much about the domain name.
Totally agree, Mr. Tucky. In response on the SEO Questions community on Google+, he said, I agree with both of you, but the point is that in both cases I mentioned, putting the brand name in the domain name worked. My response would be, it could be a coincidence. You don't know necessarily that putting the brand name in the domain name was what worked to make them show for Redpack or DHL. I mean, Redpack is a means of buying a pack of DHL services.
Yeah. So I think, Jamie, you're absolutely right. The assumption that this site is ranking because the domain name may not be sustainable. That may be coincident. It may be that the site owner has done a load of different things, of which domain name was one thing, and it's easy to spot. But there may be other things that the site owner had done, and I think, yeah, I don't think you can say that, oh, this site is ranking because of its domain name and because it contains the brand name in the domain name. So I think I think it's a faulty assumption. It may be correct, but it's likely to be a wrong assumption, because you have to take things in totality. You can't just pick one thing and say, oh, this is it. This is the thing that's making this site rank. I think that's jumping to conclusion.
Yeah, and the thing is, Matthew, that it used to work. It used to be very, very strong. But look, the only thing I can say, I own flowerschocolates.com, and I'll sell it to you cheaply. I own over 1,000 names like that, just in the hope that the keyword in the domain name does come back strong again. But I can promise you that, well, at least from my point of view, it's nowhere near the power that exact match domains used to have. In fact, I think it's practically zero. And of course, as Masataki said, it's the danger of having a domain taken from you once you become successful with it, because it is the use of someone's brand name. All right, let me tweak this one, unless you had something you wanted to add to it, Masataki. Okay, let's go to the next. This is a Google News item. Kim Patour's, he posted on our SEO Questions community. He was complaining about Barry Schwartz naming updates himself. Anyway, it generated a bit of buzz. I'm not sure. Did you happen to notice it, Masataki?
Not really.
Yeah, it was quite a good thread. It can be read on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. If you just do a search for Patours, Pittoors,
I think
you should find it.
Yeah, I think the issue is people should be worried about the actual things happening with any particular update than worrying about the name.
Yeah. Anyway, it was all fun, and it got us about another 20 20 members of our community from the Netherlands as a result. So it's an ill wind that does nobody any good.
No, I mean, naming is fine because if it helps you in any particular way, but you could, I think the problem is sometimes people get more obsessed about their names than the actual content of the update.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue, and perhaps that distracts people from more important things.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been one of the messages from Gary Ilyash about Fred. We are going to call all, why not call all updates Fred from now onwards? And I think it's the substance, it's not the name that matters. But thinking, does it really help to communicate the changes to other people, or does it help in discussing a particular update that happened on a particular date? I don't know. I'm very skeptical of naming things for the sake of it, perhaps, but I don't think it does do much harm either. So if people are happy about it, why not? But concentrate on the substance, not on the name.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I know when I click forward, we're going to be seeing that time again. Thank Rakibel for coming back to join us. I thank everybody who participated tonight, and we still have eyes watching us. We thank you. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and for that we're most grateful. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again. By the way, if you'd like to join us at the bottom of every SEOquestions.com page, you'll see a link to join HOA. So if you'd like to join us in the green room after this broadcast, you're more than welcome. Okay, so we'll switch off now, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.